And of course, we must not forget Happy Pi Day. Can you remember the digits of pi? How far out can you remember digits of pi?
1592653.
Whoa, I'm impressed. 31416, last year was a big pi day because 3.1415 and then 926 in the morning would have gotten really far. 3.1416 is rounding up to pi. So if you know 3.1416, you're doing fine. You may remember 3.14159265358979323843233833832795, but 3.1416 is plenty good for most calculations. And regarding calculations, we're getting started in Excel, and here's what you're going to create: a spreadsheet with some tables in it. You're going to learn to describe the Excel format, entering text using the sum that Excel has built in. Most of the time in Excel, we're adding things together. There's a function that does that for you. Entering sum functions, copying cells, applying styles to cells. Doesn't affect the number in the cell, but makes it appear larger or bolder or in a different color. Creating charts, especially the pie chart. Woo! And lots of other things we're going to do with the spreadsheet. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. We're going to create a worksheet with a chart that looks something like this. And one thing, besides getting numbers in the cells, one thing you want to be good at doing is making your table look good. Not only have the correct numbers, but have it readable and interesting to people. By prettying up a little bit, you can make an average table look very nice. And what happened to my picture? I keep floated over there. You can make an average looking chart even nicer by just formatting the cells in a nice way, and we're going to be doing that too. We're going to be adding a pie chart with a title. Always put titles on your charts. So here we go. Let's start Excel, and we're going to think about the numbers we're going to be putting in. We're going to be putting in a budget with our wages we plan to have with some numbers there. Some dividend they're thinking of putting in there as well. A total wages or total income. So they're going to add up all the income in a separate section, add up all of the expenses in another separate section, total that, and then figure out the net, which would be how much we made minus how much we spent. That would be the net. And eventually an ending balance. So let's go ahead and start Excel and just start browsing around a worksheet. So I'm going to bring up Excel, do start, and where's my little start button? I can't get my start button to show up here. Let's get that start button to show up. There we go. And you can just type Excel, and you should see Excel 2016 show up eventually. I'm going to do Excel 2016. I have both 2013 and 2016 installed. Make it the default program if it asks you, and start a blank workbook. And first you're going to get is a blank sheet. Now let's make sure everybody knows all the parts of an Excel worksheet. How many have used Excel before? Good. So several of you. I've often gotten feedback from students that have taken this course. They say, I wish I'd listened closer in the Excel part, because we're finding in your job out there, they were using Excel much more. Everyone knows the word processing. You may be writing a lot of memos depending on your job. You will more likely be needing to use spreadsheets and helping your boss, if you are not the boss yourself, keep track of numbers, because any business deals with numbers. So browsing through a spreadsheet by clicking on every little rectangular section, that's called a cell. You can click on them. You can right, left, up, down arrow. You can tab to get to cell. Each one of those is called a cell, and every time we're on a cell, it has an address showing up in the address bar, also known as the name box. And up here is also a place that shows the formula being typed in the cell. I prefer just clicking on the cell and typing there. You could click on the cell and then up here type in the formula bar and say hello, and it will show down here. But it's more natural to just click on the cell and start typing, and it shows up in the cell, as well as the formula bar. Whenever I click back on a cell, it shows what formula is in the cell. Clicking once selects the cell, and there's a little fill handle that shows in the lower right corner of every cell. You can grab that fill handle and pull it different directions, and it will copy that cell. That's called the fill handle. We'll be learning more about that. I can drag through multiple cells, and if I hit delete, it's supposed to erase everything in the cell. I can also clear the contents, but delete should do it as well. I hit backspace by accident and it didn't do it right. But yes, you can also right click on cells and cut or delete or clear contents. They each behave slightly different. So selecting through multiple cells and browsing by clicking cell by cell. So that's one of the first things they have you do in the book, is just learn to get to browse through, to navigate the Excel spreadsheet. Well, let's get started on the project where we're going to be creating a personal budget worksheet. In the book, they just say call it a personal budget worksheet. I'm asking you to place your name in there and then put personal budget worksheet. If you want to put cs101 spring 2016, that's fine. Just keep it on one line so when we're working with the book, our cell addresses still show up as the same addresses they have in the book. Hitting enter makes it look like this is data entered in these other cells. If I click on F, no, there's nothing there. When I have something in this cell, if there's nothing to the right of it, it will overlap over those other cells. But watch what happens if, say, I type something in cell C1, I put hello. Now, my cell that was over here gets cut off there. So I'm just going to go over there and clear it again, and now this cell spreads over across the other cells. That's fine in this cell. As we work with other numbers, we're going to be adjusting the width of our cells to make sure everything can show without overlapping between other cells. We'll show you how that's done. So we put in personal budget worksheet. They show that you can type it up here in the formula box and hit the check box or hit the enter key, which does the same thing. The enter key is much more natural once you type something in. Now we're going to begin our first set of rows, putting in the title, monthly estimates, in cell A2. Monthly estimates. We're estimating our budget for a year. Giving it a title will make it nice and readable. We're going to come back later and adjust the style of that title. So there's what we typed, monthly estimates. And now we're going to come in and type in a row title as well as column titles. First, we're going to have our income as our row title, and we're going to add the months for the columns. So we type here income, and then we're going to have the along that month. Do I have that right? Is it in the same row? Yep. The income, we're going to type in January for the first month. And now we're going to let Excel do some work for us. Remember that fill handle I mentioned as we were browsing or navigating Excel? If I click on January now and select that fill handle, get right to the lower right, and then click on it and drag it to the right, Excel knows to put in the following months because it knows the months of the year as a special sequence of values. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and keep grab that fill handle, continue, and you see the little pop-up box shows you the months that it is filling in for you. October, November, December, going all the way out to December. It knows that special sequence. There's other sequences like that that you can use with the fill handle, such as Monday. If I click Monday and grab the fill handle, it knows the day of the week. If I type A1 and then grab the fill handle, it'll guess that it must want me to keep counting A1, A2, A3. A handy way for using the fill handle. It's usually only needed though when you're first creating your tables, but it's nice to know. Okay, so we have our income. Now we want to go down all the way to row 8, and we're going to put in our titles for expenses. So down in row 8, we're going to type expenses. And I could start the January, February, March thing, or I could go back to the ones that I already put in, drag through them, Control C for copy, and you get the dotted lines around them, and then click here and Control V for paste, January, February, March. And I have my values in there. Now we're going to start putting in some numbers here in the various cells. Oh, we want a total at the very end. So put total to the right at the very last. So I'm going to zip over to the end of the row and put total. And I also want a total there. We'll be making sure Excel does the work for us when we do the total though. We're going to be typing in some values for estimates of our income. So now we have our table here with estimates with our months in there. We didn't have to type in the months. We did the fill handle to do the months. And now we're going to start putting in the things that we get for income is wages, dividends, and then have it do a total. So the only numbers we're actually putting in here are some numbers for wages and some numbers for dividends. We have some investments we're going to be getting some income from. Then we're going to be letting Excel do a total for that month as we calculate month to month. So let's see what we have for our wages. How much money are we making per month here? Oh, look at that. They've given us the numbers to put in here. Looks like our wages are $1,000.29 every month. Okay, so let's do this the easy way. $1,000.29. And rather than type it over and over and over again, I'm going to click on it and fill handle over. Zoom out, and I'm going to fill handle over all the way to December of my wages. There I have $1,000.29 for every month because I'm not expecting a raise this year. We're doing a estimate. I could estimate a raise sometime here, but we're just estimating. And just assuming we're not getting a raise. Our dividends, it looks like we don't get anything except for January and September of $4,000.75. Well, I'm going to put zeros here. Well, let's see. We're going to put $4,000.75 in January and September. And come to September and $4,000.75. And in all the other ones, I'm just going to type in a 0. I don't really mathematically have to put in a 0. Excel treats empty cells as though they're the number 0. But just so it's clear to anyone reading my worksheet, I'm going to do a copy and drag through where I want to paste it to and do a Control V, paste the zeros. It'll just be clear when we format this that it's definitely we typed in a 0 there. And I'm going to select through those and do a Control V as well. Later on when we do formatting in accounting format, it'll show a dash instead of a 0. But mathematically, it will treat empty and a 0 the same way. Now we're going to let Excel calculate our total eventually, but let's put in these other numbers here and let's save as much time as we can. Looks like we have rent, food, tuition, books, entertainment. Let's go ahead and put in those cells, rent, food, tuition, books, in our expenses. Hitting enter takes me down a row automatically. Spelling right. Excel isn't as fussy on spell checking as word is. Entertainment, car payment, gas. And our last expense, miscellaneous, the very dangerous category. If you're doing a budget, be careful about putting everything in miscellaneous. And see how miscellaneous is wider than that column? I want to widen my column here by grabbing right in the edge between the two gray blocks at the top, grabbing right there. See when my cursor changes, I'm going to move that cell over so there's room for entertainment and it doesn't tromp over some numbers I'm going to be typing in here. Or entertainment doesn't get cut off when I type in the number. Let's see how much time we can save here. Let's type in 489, and I'm going to fill handle that all the way across because it's the same all the way across. Looks like 300's all the way, same thing. I can put 300 all the way across. So let's get rent and food done very easily by typing $400.89. Must be a really small apartment. And food, 300, $10 a day. Now to save time, I'm going to select both of them and fill handle those over all the way out to December. I can fill handle more than one cell over. Tuition we only pay in January and August of $1,500. Pretty low tuition. $1,500 for tuition in January and August. And I can put a 0 here anywhere. I can go to any other 0 and Control C, and then select through where I want to type zeros and Control V. Or I could type 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab, 0 tab. Whatever way is easier depending on where your keyboard is and how tired your fingers are. Copy paste a 0 or type in 0. Books, again, we're not buying books except in January and August for $500. In January and August, another $500. These are our expenses. And everywhere else, I'm going to type in a 0 and tab, come back and fill handle over the 0. Many ways to fill that in. And type in a 0, tab, come back and fill handle that over. $100 entertainment. I'm going to type in the same number. It looks like all these are the same, so I'm going to type 100, 154.79, 154.79, 100 and 100 for gas and miscellaneous. Fairly, well, not conservative. This is very optimistic that I'm only going to be spending that much. Now, since these numbers are the same all the way across, I'm going to select through those and fill handle those over all the way across, all the way to December. And now I have my numbers in there very quickly. Now we're going to let Excel do all the rest of the work. We've done the work of adding our numbers in there, filling our table with these numbers. The rest of the time now is making Excel do what it's meant to do. Yes?
For gas between May and July, 150.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Yep, May and July. The summer, we're spending a little more on the summer gas. So 150, May, June, July. Didn't notice that. Very good. So May, make that 150. And then come back and fill handle it over to July. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can now let Excel do the work. We're going to start right here, the total in January. We're going to select where we want to put the total. And then we come up to the little Greek symbol up in our menu here. Sigma, standing for sum. If I click on that, watch what Excel puts there. It puts in equal sum and then in parentheses B4 colon B5 with dotted lines and shading around cells B4 and B5. So a couple things we learned here. An equal sign starts a special formula in Excel. I could have typed this by hand, but Excel does it for me when I click on that because that's so often used that they put it in a special menu of common functions. But when I type an equal sign, That's telling Excel, start a special function that I'm going to name after the equal sign, and the name of this function is called sum. What it's going to do the sum of has to go in parentheses. That's called the parameters to the sum function. The parameters to the sum function are the cells B4 and B5, and the way Excel names multiple cells is the address of the first cell colon the address of the last cell. And then enter. Excel will do the calculation of that sum of those two cells above it. Because there were numbers nearby, this little sum, what we call a macro, knew what to calculate the sum of. We'll learn more about that in the future. Now I can fill handle that calculation over all the way out to December. And Excel for each month calculates the total for the month very easily, and I can verify, yes, that's what the sum should be. Now, while we're over here at the end of December, let's let it do the same thing at the end of the year, calculating the total for the year. Same thing here. I'm next to a number. I select the cell where I want to put this function in. I click the sigma up there, and it calculates, or it shows me what it thinks I want is the sum of, oh, look, I found some numbers nearby. You must want the sum of all those. And there's the B4 is the first cell, colon M4 is the last cell it's going to do the sum of. And yes, M4 is where I want it to end. So I hit enter to confirm, yes, that's the calculation I want. And it gives me the total of wages for the month, or for the year. Now I can select that again and fill handle down. And I have the totals of wages, totals of my dividends, and totals of my total income. So 20 grand income. Notice I just made, the only place where I told Excel what to do was right here. I fill handled that down. Back here on the first month, I said give me the total, and then I fill handled it over. It knows if I double click on this, I'll see what formula is in there. Let me zoom in here. Anytime you double click on a cell, Excel will show you what is there, and it shows a little cursor there that I can edit what it's doing. Hitting escape lets Excel leave that formula alone. Double click shows me what's there. If I also hit the key Alt tick mark upper left, sorry, no, it's Alt, sorry, Alt, is it Alt F9? Control tick mark, it will show me the formulas in every cell. Control tick mark, control upper left will toggle between showing the formula and showing the calculated number. That's often useful, especially when I'm grading yours and I want to see, did you type in a number there or did you type in a formula there? This is how I check to make sure you actually did a formula and then just type what you saw the book showing was going to be appearing in that cell. So a lovely table with nice calculated numbers. Let's do now the totals for all the expenses. Well, let's check to make sure I haven't missed anything yet here in the book as they put in all those numbers. In the book, they walk you carefully through all those numbers. I did some shortcuts for you. Rather than making you type the number in every cell, I just fill handled over. We did the calculation of the sums, making sure I'm not missing anything here. The dividends, and they show you the sums of the each month. I did a shortcut by just doing the fill handle rather than making you type that in every cell. They did the totals at the top or at the far right. Oh, let's do that for the ends of the expenses. I can select through all of them and say, hey, I want the totals for those, figure it out, and look at that. It figures out the total for each row because there was a number next to there. It calculated the sums for me. A nice way. Let me do that again. I can simply select the rows rather than doing one by one or doing one and then doing the fill handle. I can say, you know what, I want here the totals. It guesses that it must want the totals to the left, but I come back and I select one to verify, double click, and I see, yes, it has done the right total, B9 all the way out to M9. Yes, that's what I want. All by simply selecting through all of them and then telling it, give me the sum. So Excel, making your life easier, guessing, especially with summation, at the formula you want. So I can get here very quickly, get to the point of having numbers with the calculations. Now we want to do a little bit more here. We have at the bottom the net income in row 19, and we're going to type in a formula here. We're going to type in, we want our net right here. We're going to have net, leaving a blank row just for a nice look. We want this to be the total of January minus, did we not get a total? Oh, I need to put a total at the bottom of income. I'm going to move this by grabbing that cell edge and move it down one. And I'm going to put a total line. I forgot to put a total line here. Let's do the same thing here. I'm going to zoom out here so I can drag through all the way out to December. I'm going to drag through them all and click the sigma. Look at that. It calculates the total for each column of numbers. It knew to stop here because there was not a number between here and the previous row of numbers. We didn't want it to jump up to these numbers. And Excel is smart enough to guess that these numbers that are all next to each other must be the sum I want. And that is exactly what I want. Now let's come back here now to January. And I want what goes in here to be the total wages of January minus the total expenses of January. So that formula, I'm going to type the equal sign because I have to, there is not a special key to guess at this one. I type the equal sign and I click on the cell that has the total there. It puts in the address of that cell. I could have just typed B6, but I like the point and click method. That makes sure that I'm getting the right number. I could type B17, but first of all, I have to tell it what to do. I have to subtract. So I type the minus symbol, the dash. I want to subtract my expenses, and then I click on B17 rather than, I could have typed B17, but I see the dotted lines. I check, yes, those are the two numbers. I want to subtract the amount I've spent from the amount I've earned or had for income, and then before clicking anywhere else, this is the tricky part, if I click somewhere else, look what happens. It keeps changing that second number because I accidentally clicked somewhere else. Make sure once you have that second number and that's all you want to do, either click the check mark there or hit the enter key. That makes sure Excel doesn't keep guessing at what goes there. Now it gives me the correct number. I can always click on that. I see the formula up in the formula bar, or double clicking, it shows me the formula there and colors the cells where the numbers are coming from. A helpful little graphical indicator of the two numbers that are being subtracted from one another. And be sure to hit enter before clicking somewhere else because I think it may mess up if you don't do that. Sometimes it does mess up, sometimes it doesn't. So B6 minus B17, and just like we did before, I can fill handle that total all the way out to, might as well go to the total row because this will give me my total net for the year. And we see that except for the months where I'm getting my dividend, I'm actually losing a little bit of money each month. But in the end, I'm about $1,900 ahead because of those nice dividends I'm getting in January and September. Let's make sure I've got the numbers right. I'm going to compare them to what they are in the book. Oh, did I not see the ends? Oh, they didn't show what they were. I'm guessing I have the right numbers. I'm just going to check the number here. 18018. Let's see what I have. Make sure. Yeah, 18018.2. I've got it correct. So even though they didn't show the minus 155s, I'm pretty sure I have it right. I'm going to, before I do anything else, I've done a lot of work here, I'm going to save this as my last name, EX1. Save it as last name, EX1. Control S. I'm going to save it over in my little cs101 folder in my documents. Be sure to save your files to your jump drive, upload them to your Google Drive. Don't lose your files. CS PowerPoint. I'll save it as Manning EX1. And I'm just going to call it budget worksheet. And while I'm here, I'll see what other formats I could possibly save it in. Look at all those multiple types of files you could save it as. But we are saving it as an Excel workbook. Last name EX1. We're going to be doing some more work on it though, so we're not done yet. We've just made sure we saved it what we have so far. The rest of this now is formatting it and putting in a pie chart to show graphically what these numbers look like, how our spending goes. So we've done all the numbers, letting Excel do the worksheet. Now it's a matter of formatting our worksheet. We're going to adjust our title, make some nice font colors. So it looks from a plain looking worksheet like this to a nice colored alternating rows in accounting format. So I think we're going to start on those titles, make them look a little better by putting our cell into title form. Let's see what we're going to do with that one. Yes, we're going to make it title style. So we're going to choose that first one and put it in title style. So I'm going to go back to that upper left one and choose title style by going to cell styles here and choose title. And it comes out nice and big across the top. It's larger than what they show in the book because we added our last name to it. And we've applied it. We can change the font just like we can do in Word. Let's go ahead and make it Cambria font instead of Calibri. By having the cell selected, I can change it to Cambria font down in the C's. Cambria, right there. Little fancier looking font. Oh, and we also going to make it bold. Okay, I'll make it bold. Control B is my favorite way of making it bold. Or you can choose the little bold icon up there. I do it so much, Control B I've memorized. And we're also going to do monthly estimates and make that a 12-point font. Monthly estimates, it's 11 right now, making it 12. Do they make that bold? Looks like they made that bold as well. Or do they go up to, looks like they go up to 14. Control B will also make that bold. Let's see, did I miss a part of, did they change the font there on that second one? Yeah, it looks like they want to make that second one bold. And Control B makes that one bold as well. As we enter our, and we adjusted the font size already. Font color, we're going to make it a bluish color on that title. And we're going to make blue as well as A2. So let's just go ahead and select them both, since I'm going to make them both the same color. And font color right there. Blue accent 1. There's my font size. Then adjust the font color. They did it one cell at a time. I'm just going to do both together. Because I have a large table and I want this title to be across the top, something that is less commonly known. If I select multiple cells, I can merge and center those using this merge and center guy right here. That treats all those cells now as though they are one cell. If there were numbers or something typed in those cells, it would give me a little warning. You have multiple things in these cells, everything will be lost except the first cell. This one, because everything else was blank, it centers, merges, it's called a merge and center. Let's do the same thing to our monthly estimates. Drag through multiple cells all the way to the total line, and then click the merge and center. So it makes a nice little title across the top. Doing this too much, though, all throughout your worksheet will make it a pain later to modify your worksheet. So I avoid this except maybe at the very tops of my worksheets. Cells that are merged mess up things later on if you're copying and pasting. So be careful doing lots of cell centers, merge and centers. But titles is fine. Now we want to make a nice little formatting of the cells below there, using the row styles that are already built in, rather than figuring out how to underline cells, which we're going to learn how to do. Let's just let Excel do the underlining for me. So I'm just going to click these cells, control click these cells, and then choose cell style heading 1. Or did they choose heading 2? Yeah, heading 1. And it makes a nice header for my months of the year. For my total rows, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make those total styles. So I'm going to select through that total line, control select through that total line, letting me select cells that aren't connected, and now cell style total for those. It's already looking better. One problem, though, is my numbers aren't in good accounting format. We're going to be coming to that pretty quick here, too. So they did the heading 1 for the tops, total styles. Let's get to that part. And then we're going to be coloring or shading in different alternating row colors the wages and dividends. So they show you how to do that. You basically select multiple rows and apply a shading color. So I'm going to go through the wages row and apply a shading of a lighter blue. Yeah, yeah. You can do the control. The problem is if you do the control, you got to be careful. Don't accidentally unselect something. But yeah, I'm going to do that here by using the control. I'm finding that it may be quicker just to do one at a time because the shading remembers. And just in case I click wrong somewhere else. For mine, it seems to be going slower when I do the control select. Something's going slower. Maybe have to do with the recording of the video. It remembers the last shading I selected. And now I select the other ones and apply a darker shading. Control selecting. Another control select. I'm always nervous when I do the control select because in case something goes wrong, especially if my computer has this funny delay in it. I'm going to select a slightly darker shade and then get the very last one. It goes a lot faster when I select single rows. And do they want us to color the net one? Let's see. Oh, yes, they want the net in even a darker color. So I'll do a net, select through that, shading, and let's select the slightly darker. When I click off of it, I'll see the actual color. That's a little too dark for me. I'm going to select a slightly lighter. That's a little too dark for me. That's a little better. They make it so dark that they actually turn the font white in that one. I'll do that just for fun. I'm going to make this a really dark blue, and because it's so dark, I'm going to turn the font a lighter color. So I'm going to select a really dark blue for that one, and then before leaving the selection, I'm going to change the font to a white font. And I might even make it bold because I want it to be very readable. Now, everything we're good so far. We'll come back next time and review this and set the numbers in accounting format by just selecting them all and choosing accounting format right here, or comma style. It'll put them in nice, readable accounting.
Wait, where is that?
That's the little comma right there. It puts it in what we call comma style. I prefer that over dollar signs everywhere. I'd rather have comma style and put the dollar signs only on specific numbers. So comma style applied. We'll come back and review that on Wednesday. Have a great day. This quick intro to Excel. I hope it hasn't scared you away, but hope it's showing you how easy Excel can do calculations for you and make you look like a nice professional accountant when all you've done is make Excel do the work and know how to format things to make it look pretty. Pretty numbers are also very professional looking.
Is this a part of exciting Excel?